Hey Dude Nation, welcome to episode 5 of the Dude, Who Are You and What Do You Do For Us podcast. I am excited today to be sitting here with Karen Small in our HR department. Hi Karen.
Hi.
How you doing today?
Good.
Awesome. We've been having a lot of fun doing these podcasts, the genesis of them where, I've been sitting down doing one-on-ones with folks, as part of my just getting to meet dudes. And I thought a conversation with you would be really interesting as a one-on-one for the rest of the team. So we'll dive right in. You and I met earlier in my time here, and I was intrigued by a couple of things. First off, your focus and dedication to a wide variety of charities. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So I'm heavily involved in the SPCA of Lake County. I absolutely love animals, especially dogs. My family, we had labs growing up, so I just love being able to go there and help the dogs. I go at night, and after everyone's gone, I just get to hang out with the dogs, clean their cages, their bedrooms, and let them outside, and just hang out with them. And then when I go the next week, hopefully they're all adopted.
That's awesome. My wife and I have rescued 4 dogs over the course of our time, so your charity is near and dear to my wife's heart. You also do a lot of travel.
Yes.
I remember that from your cheat sheet that you threw up in front of that HR meeting on day one. Talk to the folks about that.
Yeah. So I have a twin sister that she actually just moved back to North Carolina from New York City. But I have a lot of cousins and family that live up in Manhattan, so I go up there a couple times a year. I just like to explore and see new places, new cultures. This past year, in 2017, I went to Seattle for the first time, and I went to a couple other places and local that I hadn't been to before. And then in June, I'm going to France and Spain. So I'm excited about that. Great
trip. You want to adopt a brother or something like that?
Yeah.
Happy to go. So what do you do for us?
So mainly recruiting. Mm-hmm. So my title is HR Talent Specialist. So I'm on the talent acquisition team, work with mainly sales and client services for recruiting and then employee relations. So getting people in and working with them while they're here, and if they do happen to leave, working with them to make it a good experience from the very beginning to the very end.
What you guys do, you and your teammates do for us is amazing, because when you think about every dude in this building, all roads lead through you and your team in some way, shape, or form. You have to get a ton of gratification and satisfaction with the job. Tell me a little bit about that. I mean, how you think about the way you're shaping the company.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the reasons I love my job is I know that, in a very small fraction, I'm getting to change someone's life. Even if they come here and, they don't see me a lot, I know that I've had a positive impact on someone else's life. So that's one of my favorite parts about my job. And then getting to see people, come here, do well. And that's another kind of the second favorite part of my job is actually getting to see people, they come here, they enjoy their job, they do well their job, maybe they get promoted. So that's definitely...
It's got to be really gratifying, especially when you see somebody that you recruited just kick ass in the building, right? It's got to be so awesome. How long you been a dude?
I started in August of 2016.
So you've been newly recruited yourself, basically. Yes. Only a couple of years. What were you doing before?
I was at another software startup. That's where I got into HR. I was my background is a little bit more business, so project management, sales ops, some sales. I was at an IT consulting firm, so that wasn't necessarily what we do here. But and then at my old company, I got to take on HR and finance, payroll, benefits, recruiting, all that stuff. And then I found that I really loved recruiting and employee relations. So that's how I ended up in HR, and I wanted to go to a company that was a little bit bigger, had a team, people I could learn from, and that's where I found Dude. I love the innovation, the software. I just like how fast-paced we are, and how our culture is amazing. Everyone's very friendly, very welcoming, and it's not hard to sell the company to people. So
that's it's great, because in a weird way, you are a salesperson when you love your product, right? That always helps. How did you learn to be a recruiter? I mean, you didn't just walk in one day and say, "Here I am. I'm going to start recruiting and be great at it. How did you learn your skill, your craft?
So right after college, I went to Meredith College, a local all-women's school in Raleigh. And then right after graduation, I started in college admissions there. I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and so the opportunity came to me, and I was able to work on the admissions team. So I was recruiting people to come to Meredith. So I did that for about a year, and then I decided I wanted to go into technology. So that's where I got started in non-recruiting, but I've always done at every single company, I've always done something with recruiting. So I just decided this is what I want to do 100% of my time. So
that's awesome. When you think about the challenges of recruiting for the dude, what are some of those?
So it's a very competitive market right now for a lot of the positions we recruit for, sales, engineering, client services as well. So really having to sell the value of, why is Dude different than the other technology companies in the area? And I don't think I have a hard time selling it, because we do have such a unique culture, a really great company, a great software that we, really makes a difference in the community. So I think I'm able to sell that. But definitely the competition, it's so fast. Right. People expect, sometimes when we get on the phone with them, they're like, I already have an offer. So we got to, make things happen quickly internally, and then provide them while we're providing them a good experience. We don't want them to feel like they're being rushed in here. We want them to have a good experience.
Oh, it's so important. Even if we don't hire them, because you want them to be ambassadors. Like, hey, I interviewed, I didn't get the job, but boy, they were great, right? So it's so important.
Yeah. Yeah,
that makes sense. Put folks in your seat for a day or a week. What do you do? Like, what's a typical day?
So for right now, we have a couple sales classes. So during the day, I have phone interviews scheduled throughout the day. So I might have.
How many interviews would a typical day have you do?
I try to limit it to about 7 or 8, because after that, it's.
That's gonna be mind-numbing.
Yeah.
After about the 6th one, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
And how long will these interviews last?
Anywhere between 30 and 45 minutes. I tend to sometimes ramble. I just like to get to know people in interviews. It's not a necessarily, tell me about this experience, but it's really a conversation. And then right now we have on-site interviews. So we had some this morning. We have interviews for sales in blocks. So we'll have them in the morning, then the afternoon, and then, meetings with our team. We're trying to brainstorm some really fun events for the company, really want to engage the rest of the company and show how great our HR team is, and we're fun and we're approachable.
Yeah, you guys are. I mean, I sit up pretty close to you guys, and you guys are a blast. What's the toughest challenge you have that maybe the folks at Dude Nation inside the building can help you by doing something differently than they're doing for you today?
Well, I mean, people have been telling their friends about Dude, so that's been super helpful. We have a great group of people here that are always helpful, and everyone's very accommodating. If I put an interview on their calendars for the next day, they're very accommodating. So I think I have great experiences with all the hiring managers or the other people that are part of the team. I think the hardest part for me it has nothing to do with the people here, but it's just having to tell people that they didn't get the job, because that's gotta be
tough, right?
Yeah,
because they're dreaming, right? They're dreaming about what might be here, and how do you do that? That doesn't sound like a lot of fun. How do you do it?
We try to provide feedback. I think that's one of the things that we really have tried to do on this team, is we want to provide feedback to people, because we want them to, one, have a positive experience interviewing here, and they feel like they can learn something from their interview here, whether it's they need to work better on their communication skills, or they need more experience in this specific thing, or whatever it is. We want them to come away feeling like, wow, Dude Solutions didn't hire me, but I know what I can do now to maybe work there in the future. Yeah,
no, that makes sense. Out of how many interviews, maybe it's the wrong way to frame the question, but like out of 7 phone calls or interviews, like how many hires do you get, or maybe how many conversations does it take to get the gem of a hire for us?
For sales, we have it about 1 to 3, 1 to 4, but we have these big groups of salespeople we bring in, so we've gotten really good at figuring out, what the type of person we're looking for, the attitude, their characteristics. For the other positions, really depends. Sometimes for some managers, it's a lot more. It's maybe 15 or for one person, but
yeah. Well, what I don't think people understand about your job or appreciate about your job is that you're actually selling to two parties. You're selling to the person you're trying to recruit, but you're also selling a little bit to the hiring manager. Hey, I got this great candidate, right? It's hard. It's hard work.
I do. If I feel very strongly about someone, I will try to push them. At the end of the day, it's their team, so I'll respect whatever their decision is. But sometimes I do try to push and say, have you thought about it in this perspective?
Yeah. What's the craziest or silliest or like, I can't believe that just happened moment for you in recruiting?
This actually just happened about 2 weeks ago. The most recent one was I was on the phone with this guy. I had like a bunch of other sales interviews that day. So I called him and I started asking my sales interview questions. And then when I asked him about cold calling, he said, why would I need to do cold calling for this job? And then I realized I was supposed to be talking to him about an implementation position. So I had to switch gears.
Oh, that's good.
And hopefully not embarrass myself too much. So that happens a lot. Sometimes I get people's names wrong and I just say I'm sorry and try to provide a good experience from then on. Oh,
that's funny. That'd be a hard one to back away from gracefully. Well, good for you. We heard about your charity work and your travel. Any other hobbies? It sounds like you got a pretty full life. Any other things going on there?
Yeah. I love Raleigh. I live right in downtown, so being able to walk places and all the hikes.
City.
Yeah, it's really fun. It's growing a lot. I see all the construction going on, so it's just fun to explore and all the restaurants. And we have great hike paths here, so I really like to be outside and just stay busy.
Yeah, that's cool. Any superpowers or special talents that you care to share with Dude Nation?
I am someone that consider myself a really good friend, and that's something that, I'm not sure that's a superpower.
Actually, it probably is these days.
But I try to listen to people and be there for friends and family, and hopefully that's the same thing at work too.
Awesome. Well, we usually like to turn the mic around and have you throw some questions at me. So rock and roll. Do it.
Okay. So who is your idol? Who do you look up to?
Oh my. I don't think I've been asked that ever in my life. So I'm going to sit here and hem and haw and think hard. But I think I probably have a couple of them. First off, probably one of the most influential people in my life was my grandmother growing up. I think I got most of my values and thought process hanging out with my grandmother, who was just a real pistol in many ways. I would say that I also was very fortunate. My first CEO at Blackbaud, a guy named Bob Sawolski, was a huge influence on my life. As far as celebrity idols, I'm not sure I have any one in particular. I think there's a ton of different idols out there that have influenced me in some ways, but no one particular stands out. I look at sports and, I think besides some of the stuff that he got involved in, I think there's a lot to admire about Lance Armstrong's discipline and work effort. And then I think about business, a name from the past, a guy like Lee Iacocca and Steve Jobs, I think Presidents Abraham Lincoln in Washington. But I borrow and steal ideas and thoughts from a lot of places. I have no original thinking myself.
So what's been the biggest challenge since you've joined the Dude?
Biggest challenge since I've joined the Dude, I think there's probably been a couple. Learning all of the acronyms, I think, would be, and in fact, if folks can't see it, but I've got this acronym cheat sheet I keep on my desk that I still refer to from time to time. Also, I think understanding what some of our priorities are. I think we've got way too many priorities. I've said that on a couple of other podcasts. Really trying to get to the heart of the matter, what the two or three things are that'll move the needle. I think that's been a challenge for me. And then I would say for about the first 60 days, just figuring out how to get around the building. I get lost. I was lost a couple of days ago. I had some folks helping me out. So, yeah.
And my last question is, what is your favorite thing about North Carolina since you've moved here?
I like the people. the people here are very nice, and whether it's at work or places I've been, there's a genuine Southern hospitality strain that runs through everything, and I find that really nice. I think the quality of life here is amazing. I mean, I love California. I love my home. I'm going back there when the dude is done with me, but this is not a horrible place to hang out for sure. My wife and I are really enjoying it. Awesome. Well, Karen, thank you so much for doing this. Thank you for all you and what your team do. We really appreciate it. Dude Nation, we'll catch you next time on episode 6.